the most expensive city in all Asia and maybe even in the world, but also the most beautiful in my opinion, Singapore. A destination that you definitely shouldn't miss, but how much do you need to travel it and enjoy it to the fullest? How much money do you need for a 1 week trip in low budget version and even in mid to high budget version? What should you expect for stays, food, activities and transportation? Stay till the end because I will give you a full depth list of all costs that you will have while you're here and max out your experience in this amazing city. Before we start, everything that I will mention here, I already explained in full depth in my Singapore travel guide. I will explain you what you should see, where you should stay, and what you should expect in general in Singapore. So I will just go over the real costs that you will have here in Singapore. Also, all of the costs mentioned in this video are in USD and not in Singapore dollar, because most of the people will know more what the currency is worth in USD. And I will first list all costs separately of the sites, transportation, hotels, and so on. And at the end, I will give you a quick overview what you probably need when you're staying here for one night in low budget version and in mid to high budget version. Let's start with your stay, and you will probably stay in a hotel or hostel in the city center. The prices that I will mention are from the city center, and I would recommend you to stay as close as possible to Marina Bay Sands or the Central Business District. I personally stayed in the Mercure Icon Hotel, which is between Chinatown and Central Business District, and the location was amazing, close to the MRT and to everything else. We could walk to a lot of stuff, and I would recommend you to stay as close to the city center as possible, even though the prices will be higher. And if you go more outside of the city, you could save up to 40% of your stay price, but actually you will spend more time driving into the city, and it's nice to go during the day just quickly back to your hotel. In my opinion, it's actually worth it to invest in a hotel that's in the city center. For booking your stay in Singapore, you can use Airbnb, Booking.com or Agoda, but I personally would prefer Agoda. That's also how I got my stay. It's usually a lot cheaper than Booking.com and other platforms, and on top of that, sometimes you get deals that you can't even find on other platforms. So we start with the cheapest option, which is the hostel or a capsule, and you will probably spend for 6 nights $175 in a capsule, and that's around $29 per night for one person. The next option is a hotel, and hotel rooms are in Singapore quite small compared to other countries. I personally stayed in the Mercure Icon Hotel in Singapore. The location was great. It is brandly new built and I was completely happy, but as I said, the hotel rooms are quite small sometimes, and if you're traveling with a lot of luggage, it could be a little bit small for that price. But if you book the Mercure Icon right now, it's around $880 for 6 nights, so that would break down to around $145 per night for 2 person, and if you share that with another person, that's around $70 per person per night. And there is no budget limit for the hotels. You could even stay in the famous Marina Bay Sands hotel. That is the iconic site that you think about when you think about Singapore. And here you would pay $4,600 for 6 nights. That would cost around $760 per night for 2 person. So you see there is no limit to the sky, but that would be the only option if you want to use their famous infinity pool on the rooftop, because that one is only for the hotel guests. guests. And yes, stays are not cheap in Singapore. It's probably the biggest cost of your stay. I mean, the villa that you see in the background that I have in Bali right now costs less than the hotel room that I had in Singapore, and I could barely open my luggage. For the food, you basically have two options, and the first one is the cheap one. It's called hawker center or food center in Singapore. It's very common and most of the people go there, and you will probably go there for most of your meals. It's a big center where you have a lot of public tables, and on the sides there are a lot of small food stores where you can buy all kind of Asian food from China, Indonesia, Vietnamese food, Thai, Indian, just everything that you can imagine, and you just get it really quick, and every meal costs between $2 until $10. And you can find them all over Singapore. You just have to type in food center or hawker center, and that's the most common way that people get their meals in Singapore. The second way is that you go into a restaurant, but this one is quite expensive, especially for Asia, because you will pay from $20 to $50 per meal, or if you go in a luxury restaurant, you will pay way over $100 per meal. So you can see food also adds up if you go a lot into restaurants, but we spent most of our meals actually in the hawker center. The food is really nice, but we went for every breakfast into a nice restaurant because we didn't really want to have Asian food for breakfast. The transportation system in Singapore is, in my opinion, really cheap and super fast and convenient. You have the public transportation like the buses, the MRTs, which are the subways, and they are so clean. They drive like every 2 minutes. They are really fast and they are so cheap. We use them all the time except for our airport transfer. But for everything else, we just use the buses and the trains, and we paid around $2 to $5 per day, and we use it quite often. And just every time when you enter a bus or the train station, you just hold your Apple Pay or your credit card to the scanner, and when you leave, you check out again, and they automatically calculate how much money you have to spend, and they just deduct it from your credit card. You can also use Grab and Gojek, which is kind of the Uber of Asia, and it's just a taxi app where you can order it within the app, and it's super convenient. We actually used it for the airport transfer to our hotel. It was about $25, but it saved up to 40 minutes of driving with the MRT. And for the city, you actually don't really need it. You would pay between $10 until $20 per drive. So that could add up quite fast. That's the reason why we only use the transportation system, and we had a really nice experience with that. Now we come to the sightseeing and things to do. And the first thing that I always recommend when you're in Singapore is the big bus tour. You get a ticket on their website. I will link it down below for $45 per person, and then you can drive 2 lines. One is 90 minutes for like the iconic sightseeing, and the other one is 60 minutes for more of a cultural sightseeing. And it's really nice because they drive you around of the whole city, and you see so much and get a lot of background information with that, and you just see all of the city basically in 2 or 3 hours, which is really convenient. You can also do their night tour where they drive you around when it's getting dark at night and you see the beautiful skyline lighting up, but that is another $42 per person. And you can use that bus ticket to hop off and on how often you want within 24 hours, but we just set in from the first station and made a whole round trip with every tour, because then you have the best seat when you get in the first station. Quick break from the video because I'm so excited to share that I just finished my first ultimate Singapore travel guide. This guide has all my knowledge, travel tips, hacks, and much more combined, and is everything that you need to travel your perfect Singapore vacation. You get infos on visas, health insurance, transportation, where to stay, the must-see attractions, and much more, all prices included. Plus, I added a 3-day and 7-day sample itinerary that you can just copy and paste, so you don't have to plan anything at all. You will also get a complete budget plan, and all of this will save you hours and days of research. So click the first link in the description to check it out, and the first 10 people will get a 15% discount with the code attached. Thank you very much for your support, so let's jump back into the video. The next thing is the Gardens by the Bay. This one is really beautiful, and the whole Gardens by the Bay is free when you want to walk around. You can also rent a bicycle for around $5 per hour, but they also have a lot of things to do inside that you can pay. You can buy a combi ticket of the Cloud Forest and the Flower Dome for $25 in total. You can also do the OCBC Skywalk for $10, the Super Tree Observatory for another $10, and you can do the Flora Fantasy for $18. I actually got the combi ticket of the Cloud Forest and the Super Tree Observatory for $25 in total, and it was totally fine. I felt like I saw everything that I wanted to see in the Gardens by the Bay. Another thing that is free in the Gardens by the Bay is the Garden Rhapsody, which is this beautiful light show in the super trees that light up at night. They have 2 shows and you can just walk in. It's completely free and they have nice music and the light show, and it's really worth it to go there. The next thing is the Marina Bay Sands area, and if you want to get on top of the Marina Bay Sands hotel on the roof, you have to spend $20 to get on the viewing observation. You can also just go into one of the rooftop bars and get a drink at the bar and then go outside and have a look at the skyline, but for that you also have $20 minimum spend per person, and on top of that you have to wait in line until there's a seat free that you can go inside. So I actually would just book the viewing platform for $20 per person. It's totally worth it when you see the beautiful skyline, and you have to book that time slot in advance because they can get booked quite fast. If you like the value that you're getting out of this video so far, please help me out, like and subscribe to help this channel grow and not miss out on any future videos. You can go into the casino for free as long as you bring your passport and you don't want to spend any money inside there. You can also go into the Art Science Museum for $15 to $20. Museum, in my opinion, sounds a bit boring. It's actually quite cool with a lot of optical illusions and light shows. You can also do the Singapore Flyer, which is a big observation wheel where you can just go in. It's about $30 per person. In my opinion, it's not necessary if you've been on the Marina Bay Sands hotel already. And you can do the Spectra light show every evening. They also have 2 light shows where they do it with different lights and water fountain. It looks really nice and it's also free. The temples that you can visit in Singapore, for example in Chinatown, are usually free from my experience. Sometimes they just ask for a little donation at the end. As I already mentioned, the Gardens by the Bay is completely free if you just want to go into the park. Also the other nature parks like Chestnut or Windsor are free. Also the treetop walk that you can do, and also the botanical garden that is more within the city is also free to enter. If you want to go in the zoo in Singapore, it's about $40 per person, and if you want to do the night safari as well, it's another $40. The last part before we come to the summary how much you need in 1 week in Singapore is Sentosa Island, and getting there is quite cheap. If you want to go there by train, you just pay $4 per person. If you want to go there by bus, it's just $2 per person. And if you want to go there by cable car to get another view of the city on top, is around $26 per person. You can explore the island quite cheap when you just walk around. You go to the nice beaches that are free, or you just drive a bit around with bicycle, which is around $5 per hour, or you can do a lot of paid stuff and also leave a lot of money there. Universal Studios is $60 per person, the Sea Aquarium is $29, and the water park is $28 per person. If you want to do bungee jumping, it's around $160 per person. And if you want to do iFly skydiving, which is that you're in those glass tubes and it makes you feel like you just jumped out of the plane, it's $65 per person. You can also go for indoor kart, which is called Hyperdrive, for $30 to $60 per person. And you can also do outside downhill kart, where you will drive up with a little skiing lift where you put the cart at the bottom, for around $18 per person for 2 drives, and it's called Skyline Luge. If you want to play laser tag, it's $15 per game. The Fort Siloso is completely free. If you want to go in the zipline park, it's $45 per person. And as I said, you can do a lot of things for free on this island. We just went there and laid on the beaches and drove a little bit around with the bicycle. So if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can still go to Sentosa and have a nice day. But you can also do a lot of fun activities, but of course that will cost you also depending on how much you want to do. You can also do day tours to a lot of other islands that Singapore has, and you will go there by boat, but those one will cost you around $30 per person. Now we come to the summary, and I will tell you what you will need if you spend in Singapore 7 days on a low budget version and on a mid to high budget version, and I will specifically tell you what I would do with that budget and how much it will cost you. If you're on a low budget version and you want to travel Singapore for 7 days, you would sleep into a capsule where you just have the mattress, and that is around $175 if you want to stay in the city center. For the food, you would only go into hawker center. If you do that 3 times a day, on average $5 per meal, that would be around $105. I would also do the big bus tour, that is $45 per person, maybe a little bit more, but with that you see all of the city quite cheap, you get all of the information, and you could basically see Singapore this way in just 1 day. One thing that was really worth it in my opinion in Gardens by the Bay was the cloud forest combined with the super tree observatory, and that is $25 if you get a combi ticket. And I would even go up on the observatory of the Marina Bay Sands hotel for $20 because I think the view is really amazing. Let's say you calculate $5 per day on transportation, that would end you around $35 at the end of the week. That would leave us at around $370 at the end of the week, and even if you would plan an extra budget of $50 for small things that you maybe buy or things that you want to do, that would leave us at $420 if you really look under budget and want to travel really cheap in Singapore. Now we will have a look into the mid until high budget version, and that is probably the way how most of the people will travel Singapore. Let's start with the hotel. If you, for example, would choose the Mercure Icon Hotel, as I did, you would spend $880 for 1 week for 2 persons. So if you would share that with a person, you would end up with $440 per person. For the food, if you go once a day in a restaurant and 2 times a day in a hawker center, you would probably end up at around $300 at the end of the week. If you do the big bus tour during the day with the 2 routes and even the night tour, that would end you up at around $90 per person. In the Gardens by the Bay, I would actually do the same and do the Cloud Forest and the Super Tree Observatory for $25. And also I would go onto observation platform from the Marina Bay Sands Hotel for $20. Let's say you want to do a few activities. For example, you go into the zoo for $35, you do the Universal Studios for $60, and even go kart driving for around $30. That would end you up for another $125 for extra activities. That means after 1 week you would end at exactly $1,000 per person, and if you want to leave a little bit of space for activities or go shopping, for $200 your budget would be around $1,200. And if you want to do a luxury budget version, that means you would probably go to the Marina Bay Sands Hotel and spend $4,600 for 1 week just for the hotel, and just by that you can see that there is not really a limit, and you could easily spend $6,000 or more in a week in Singapore. I really hope that this video got you a little insight how you can live in Singapore for 1 week on low budget or even mid to high budget. And now let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is Singapore super expensive? Do you maybe got some tips on saving money for everyone that watches this video? And now thank you so much for liking and subscribing, and I will see you in one of my next videos where I show you the most beautiful places on earth.